Hey, it's Sandy with Quilted Treasures and More. I hope you've had a good weekend. I am sitting here in front of a 14-inch easel art piece. And what happens with the easel art is that is simply a piece that is 14 inches and it works well on an easel or a plate stand. So it's convenient for bookshelves, countertops. This one would be really good in a kitchen on a countertop because it says bless this kitchen. So I'm going to show tonight just a technique that I use that gives a wood grain look. Now, looking at this, you're going to say, well, that doesn't look very wood grain to me. No, it doesn't. So I am going to do a wood grain look to this piece. So I'm going to show you how I get that accomplished. I hit the wrong button. I am so sorry. I was trying to get back to my other screen and hit the wrong button in the process. Hi, Miss Allison. I miss you too. I'm so glad you're here with me and hanging out with me on a Sunday night. And I have been checking out your pictures, and oh my goodness, your babies are growing up too fast. Of course, my baby grew up too fast too. So enjoy all the time because trust me, you'll blink twice and they're 13 and whew, somebody said to me earlier today, 13, wow, it's like the terrible twos all over again. I'm like, I did agree at the time, but thinking back now, I'm like, no, no, it's not quite the terrible twos all over again. So this easel art piece, I'm going to show you the technique for doing the wood look on it, a wood grain look, and then I'll have to wait for everything to dry real well, and then I've got to go back. I'll have to go back and put white back in these areas or a buttermilk color. One of the two. I'll either do white again or I'll do buttermilk. And what that'll do is that'll help me go over the browns that I'll be using for this technique. Now, the reason why I will have to go back over it, and the reason why I'm doing the whole thing brown, back up one more step. It's easier if you do the entire thing brown to get the wood grain look on this piece. So first I'll paint it all brown, and then I will come back and do a different coat of brown. Then I'll do the tool that I'm going to use, which is actually this tool right here. You see it has some interesting little half circles drawn on it and portions of circles. And so that's going to give this look that I'm going to be using, or yeah, doing. I'll be using this to create the wood grain look on this. So hopefully that's all straightened out now. I think I know where I'm going. I actually thought earlier, you know what? I might should have another cup of coffee. Had one this morning, but I did actually think earlier that maybe I should have had one this afternoon just to keep my brain in gear. The one thing I've noticed about my 14-inch pieces is that my little uh, turntable, Lazy Susan, whatever you want to call it, underneath, actually spins really easy with these lighter pieces. And so I kind of have to work on holding it down. So I'm just going to share the wood grain technique tonight because, like I said, I'll have to go back and I will have, in order to get the colors correct on my flowers and my leaves, and of course my this is a rolling pin here and a wooden spoon here. To get those correct, I'll have to go back over everything with either the white or the buttermilk color. So we're just going to share the technique tonight, and then I'll show you finished pictures once I get everything done, because this one will take just a little bit longer when you do this technique. So what I'm using right now is called sable brown, and it's not a dark brown. I've done one of these before where I used um, a dark brown on the bottom and a lighter brown on top. Well, this is kind of a medium brown, and I think I actually had a darker brown. Well, I still may do that darker brown. I'm going back and forth as to which one to use. I think I'm going to use a darker brown. And then what I'm going to do is use a lighter brown on this rolling pin, which I've now covered up, and the spoon. Now, the neat thing about the laser cut pieces that I use is that you can actually see through the paint. See how you can still see the outline of it? It's hard to see when it's down here, but when I get it pulled up and move it around in the light, you can actually still see how that is cut out. And so that's how I can still keep up with what I'm supposed to be painting once I've covered it up. So I can actually see it a little better. Make sure I got the right brown here. I can actually see it better because the way the light is hitting it where I'm sitting from. Of course, with the overhead camera pointing straight down, it kind of blends and you have a hard time seeing my cutout lines. But that's how I will put everything back in. That's how I'll know where to paint everything once I get this covered. So I'm not going to put 2 coats of this brown on, and the reason being, this is going to be the color that kind of shines through once I use my wood grain tool. And so these kind of sporadic hit and miss points or places where there's a little bit of light color, it actually will help to give it that wood grain, uh, the differing in colors, the variations in colors. And so I'm going to leave that just like it is. Now, what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to grab my dryer here. And I am just going to give it a quick dry. Y'all, yesterday I decided to get out and work in the flower beds in my front yard. I haven't, we're hitting springtime, so it's been a while since I was out, been over pulling weeds and trees and all that good stuff. And so needless to say, I am not running any races today. Me and the Advil bottle, we've been best friends. Y'all, I actually feel like I have done like 400 squats. My poor thighs are killing me today. Went to get up off the couch a while ago and I thought, man, I feel like I'm 200 years old. I can't even half get up. Somebody once told me getting old is not for sissies. Oh my goodness. All right, so I have got my base color dry, the base color brown, and I went with sable brown on this one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another brown on top, and this one is called milk chocolate. So if you haven't had anything to eat tonight, I'm just going to make you want sweets and, go raid the stash of goodies at your house. Don't worry, I won't tell your kids if it's their snacks for next week. I'll keep that under my hat. All right, so to do this tool, to use my tool here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a section and then I will pull the tool across it. I can't paint the whole thing and then come back with the tool. And the reason being is this will dry and I have to have wet paint to pull the tool through this paint to make the design. So I am going to kind of quickly put this on. And there's actually things that you can buy that you can add to paint that will keep it from drying so fast. And depending upon how many layers of paint you have on something, also depends on how quickly it dries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this end and I'm going to lay it on my board here. And I'm actually going to do this in sections. I'm not going to do one big one. So I'm just going to start dragging it and then I'm going to twist it upward as I'm dragging. and pull it off. Now I'm going to move over just a little bit and kind of overlap a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm not going to push down as hard. I actually pushed down just a tinge too hard on that one. And you can actually, sometimes I'll go back and I'll drag it the other way just to make some lines going in the other direction. All right, so that's a couple of passes there. So now I'm going to add some more paint. I also want to try this. I haven't done it yet. I want to try it with, oh, did I just splatter? No, I splattered the table, thankfully. Oh, I just realized I did not grab my apron. And so I have left my apron off to the side, and now I'm like, oh no, I don't want to get my my shirt all messed up because I didn't change shirts before I started this. So I am just pulling this across and dragging it at the same time. So now you can kind of see what it looks like as far as making the wood look. I may have to redo that. One little section again. I can see where it's come across, but it did not really. There we go. It didn't really dig into the paint and pull it up where the underneath shows through. So I'm giving it a wood look. All right, so now we'll go to my next section. And add the paint. And you can play with this tool. They've actually got different sizes. They've also got just a piece that you can, oh, I did it. I knew I was going to do that, y'all. Okay. I'm going to move the other one so that way I don't do that again. I knew I was going to end up crossing those paints. It's okay. All right, so I've got another layer of wet paint down. And I'm going to set this off to the side for just a minute because I'm getting closer to the edge. I can't just leave it. So this time I'm going to drag this a little further before I start twisting it. And I'm going to wait till almost the very end to drag the lines across. I could have even done that in a darker brown. So we're getting close to the edge, the other edge. I like the wood grain tool. I think it's pretty neat. I guess it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like the shiplap look that I love so much. So I actually did that one where it is a couple of different, I actually stopped and started over, and now I'm just going to kind of blend it together a little bit. And I could come back and do a little bit on this end where it has some of the lines in it. So now I have a piece that is buried. All right, so we're down to the last little bit here. So I am just going to put my last bit of paint on this one. And I think I can get this with the last of the, I think I can get the tool to go across and get the last of this. Now, something else that I can do with this that I have done on another one that I did, I actually went in and took some black, and on some of the lines, I actually did a little black on it just with a liner brush, and that's one of my very, very thin brushes. Uh, dun, 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 dun. One of these, just the liner brush, and just highlighted the some of the lines. All right, so that particular one, I did not drag the lines across at the end. I just gave it a wood look. All right, so now I just have to, oh, I think I just stuck my finger in paint and put that on my shirt. It's kind of hard to see on the shirt, so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I won't find where I've covered myself in paint. All right, so I have done the wood technique. I will say this though. This first one, I pressed down way too hard. And so while everything is still kind of damp, I'm just going to go over it and do it again. So I'm going to get my tool and I'm just going to go over this one again. And so now another way to do it would be to go from this direction across. So I'll show you how I can do that as well. And what I'll do is I'll just cover up one of these sections. I'll do this one here in the middle. And that's the neat thing. So, okay, I don't like the way it looked. All right, well, we'll just paint over it and we'll do it again. So I can come in, paint over what I just did. And what I'll do is go back over it, but I'm going to do it from the other side this time. And so that way it has the look coming from the other side. So I'm just going to stretch it and then start rolling it and stretch it a little more and then roll it a little more. And at the end, roll it up on its edge so that it gives the lines. And then I did this earlier. I can come back and actually put a few more lines in it. So now that gives that just a little bit different look. So you can go from one side and then to the other. And I may come through, like I said, and do some with the black, where I kind of give a little bit of a darker imprint for some of the lines. So I'm going to dry this. If I can get it to where it's dried well enough, I may show y'all real quick about the if this will dry for me, about coming in with the buttermilk color and adding in going back in over what I have done. So that way I can start adding the details. So I think I can get away with doing this down here. It looks pretty dry. I'm gonna have to stay away from that middle though, where I put the second coat over it, because that one is not ready for that one's not ready for paint yet. I don't want to blend them. That would not be a good idea. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna put down a coat of buttermilk, because this is gonna help me with covering the brown when I get ready to add all the colors to my flowers and stuff. So I'm just gonna come in, and again, I can still see my lines where they're etched in, and I am just going over the brown. So that way, when I get ready to come back and add the color, I'm not having to fight with the two color browns that I used for my base. But I wanted it to have a wood look to it. And you may be asking, well, don't you cut these out of wood? I do cut them out of wood, but it's not a grain wood. It's actually an engineered wood that I use. Now, that's not for everything. I will say that there are some things that we use different kinds of woods for. Primarily with the door hangers, I use an engineered wood. And then for yard art, we use a different kind of wood. Okay, so I am just coming in and getting in some of these places that I know are going to be a lighter color. Some of them are leaves. The green I may not have too much trouble with, but it depends on the color green that I use. And so I'm just going ahead and highlighting my leaves a little bit. So that way, when I come back, I won't have a lot of trouble getting it to color the leaves. I'm not doing the stems. I'm not worried about the stems. I could do the stems in a very dark green or even a black, in which case it will be fine. It'll be covered. So I have a leaf here and I have a leaf here. There's one there and one there. And then, of course, my little leaves here. All right, now I have my rolling pin, which is over here. I'm just going to cover it real quick. Now, it's in the section that I said wasn't quite dry. I think this section here is okay. I think right here is still where, right in the middle is where it's still a little on the thick side. All right, so my rolling pin comes down. Actually, my rolling pin, I think, comes all the way down to there. I'm going to wait before I actually, yeah, because there's the handle. Now I can see the handle. Okay, I'll get that in just a minute. I just want to get kind of the shapes back out, or kind of outlined back out, so that way you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to have to pick a color for letters. I know what I'm going to do: the flowers and the leaves and the spoon and the rolling pin in, but I am not sure about the letters just yet. Haven't decided if I'm going to do them a color or if I am going to do them white. I may do them white. That way they'll. Now, to keep from having to add a ton of white on here, what I can do is put a coat of gray or a coat of buttermilk down on the letters and then turn around and put the coat of white on top of that. All right, I'm gonna turn it this way so I can see. Ah, here it is. I knew if I turned it sideways, I'd find my lines. So here's the other side of my rolling pin as it comes down and is mixed up amongst the little greenery and flowers here. Okay, so how you can see how when it's starting to dry, you can see the brown coming back through it again. So that's why I said I wasn't going to try to finish this piece tonight on the live because it's going to take several coats, and the more coats you add on, the longer time it needs to sit and dry. So I was just going to give you a quick outline of that, and I can actually run through and do the letters real quick, but this is going to be too big of a brush for that. So let me outline my letters, and you can get a general idea of what the sign's going to look like once it's completed and what the letters are going to look like. Some of this is still a little tacky because I have managed to get brown paint on me more than once. I look like I'm been playing in milk chocolate, melted chocolate. So I don't know about y'all, but at Christmas time, I'm one of those that if I have to do anything with melted chocolate, like when I make some cookies that we make that require being dipped in chocolate, I I usually end up having as almost as much on me as I do on the cookies. But hey, that's a fun part of baking, isn't it? Being able to get completely involved in your work, so much so that you're wearing your work. I have been known to wear my paints, unfortunately. All right, so this is going to be a really, really rough idea of this, but you can see what it will look like once it is completed. Like I said, this is just helping me by putting down this layer of buttermilk paint. It's going to help when I start putting my actual colors down so that I don't have to use a lot of layers of the different colors, but also by having the buttermilk or a lighter color down, it also makes the color truer to the color that you see in the bottle. So if I tried putting a red on top of this brown, it's not going to come out looking like the red that you see in the bottle. It's going to be a different shade of the red. I had to fix my rolling pin there. I missed part of it. All right, so all I'm doing is just tracing out my letters, my words here, so that way when I get ready to add all the colors, probably tomorrow, because I really want this brown to have a little bit of, I know it's going to sound funny to say rest time, but I want it to be thoroughly dry before I start putting color. Because if I hit a spot here, like up in here where it's still a little touchy, if I hit a spot there and the brown mixes in, it's okay with this color. But it's not okay if it's my color that I want my words to be. So sometimes you have to let, depending upon what you're doing and what technique you're using, you have to let your paint dry for a few hours or sometimes even overnight just to make sure that everything's set well before you come back with adding something else. That's not all the time true. Just depends on what kind of technique you're using. Since I've added a few layers of paints for this wood grain look, I want to make sure it's well set before I start working on the next round, which is adding all my colors. So I'm going to finish this up and show you what it looks like. Oh, I didn't do my screen. I usually change my screen. I forgot. Normally, I shrink it down so that y'all don't see a whole lot of me, but you see more of what I'm doing. I was excited. I was excited about showing the wood grain technique. I've been showing y'all the top of my head all night. I'm so sorry. It's one reason why I started doing me on the smaller screen because I realized when I'm leaned down and focused on this, all y'all see is the side of my head or the top of my head. I'm like, well, that's not very helpful. Not relaxing either, is it? Okay, so you get a general idea of what is going to be on here. There are going to be some flowers, some greenery, a rolling pin, and a spoon, as well as the phrase "Bless this kitchen." So now that you see what it's going to look like, and you can see how now some of that wood grain, the variations that were standing out a lot earlier, now just kind of fade into the background because I've added some more of the detail onto it. And as I layer things, you'll see even more stuff start to fade into the background. So, but that's how you do the wood grain technique. It's a really cool little tool, and I've enjoyed using it. I've used it several times. And again, this is a 14-inch. It's easel art, so it can be placed on an easel or on a plate stand. And they work really well on mantles, on bookshelves, entry tables, sofa tables, and also in the kitchen. They work well and fit well underneath cabinets on your counter. So they sit well on your counter under the cabinet. So, all right. Well, I hope y'all have a great week. Thank you for just sitting in with me, kicking back, relaxing, and watching me do this little technique. I have fun from time to time, just kind of taking a break from just painting on Sunday evenings, and just kind of showing y'all some of the behind the scenes of what I do to make things look the way they look. So polka dots, and one night I did do the faux shiplap look, and so tonight I did the wood grain look. So I this week, what am I doing this week? Hmm. Last week I finished up a housewarming gift, and I finished up a tray for a business. It was a flat tray. It wasn't like a tray, like a bowl, but it was a flat tray. And oh, I finished up the gnome that I did last Sunday. So my little Easter bunny gnome. I got him all finished, seal coated. He's ready to go. And I've got the housewarming gift ready to go. Now, this week, I am working on some designs. So I'm going to be designing a few things as well as working on some um, yard art stuff. So I will be hopefully posting pictures of yard art stuff soon. I know I've talked about it from time to time. I've told y'all things are coming, and I just haven't posted any pictures of any of that yet. So hopefully this week we'll get to post some pictures and maybe even show a video of or a time lapse of me doing some of the yard art. So these are bigger pieces and they are actually meant to be put out in your yard, whether it's in the edge of a flower bed or by your front door if you don't have a porch, or you could just put it out in your yard if you want it out in the middle of the yard. So I'll be working on those various things this week. I hope y'all have a great week. Again, thanks for sitting in with me and hanging out with me this evening. Always remember to drop me a comment, say hi, and where you're watching from. Even if you're watching the replay, just drop me a comment and say hi. That way I can say hi back and I'll know who all and where all everyone is watching from. Y'all have a great week. Thanks so much for watching.